want to welcome everyone to another edition of our customer training webinar series. And the topic we're covering today is one of our favorites from our customers, and it's also the favorite for myself. We are talking about how to produce a world-class draw package from the Northspyre platform. This is one of, again, a series of webinars that we have served up for our customers today on April 24th, the draw package workshop. But I want you to take a look at all the other workshops that we have coming up at the end of April and the beginning of May. Some that I want to call out: the Getting Most Out of Report Builder on Friday is a fan favorite as well. I'm going to be giving a little bit of a preview of the Report Builder later in this class as well. But I also want to call out May 8th, Managing Your Project Schedule. And then if you are using Sage Intacct in the office, you're not going to want to miss our May 10th Hour of Integration with Northspyre and Sage Intacct. So if you're on this call, go ahead, take a screenshot of what you see on screen here, because there are a ton of valuable training webinars that we're creating just for you. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey everyone, how you doing? My name is Joe Aquino. I'm a real estate transformation consultant here at Northspyre. I come from a project management background along with sales enablement. So really my job at the end of the day is getting technology in the hands of my customers. I absolutely love what I do. Are you kidding me? I talk to people all day for a living. Can't have it any better than that. And I'm just one small piece of the puzzle on how Northspyre is really here to support you. In addition to myself, you have your own dedicated real estate transformation consultant. They are dedicated to you and your team. That is personalized support any time of day, obviously within working hours. Give them a call, shoot them an email. They're here for you no matter what. But in addition to that, you also have our concierge help desk. If you ever have a question on anything within the Northspyre platform, or if you're running into any issues, I want you to go ahead and email concierge@northspyre.com. We even have a chat bot available on our website as well. Average waiting time is currently 5 minutes, so you're not going to be waiting long to get an answer to your question. And then in addition to those two, you also have our knowledge base. This is perfect for self-service, fast answers, 350 articles at your disposal, and you can find those at knowledge.northspyre.com. So we are here to support you in multiple ways: our workshops, your real estate transformation consultant, concierge, and our knowledge base, all geared to help you. Let's talk about what we have on the agenda today, because it is a fun one. First things first, we're going to talk about the benefits of the Northspyre draw package. We are then going to dive into the tools that really are making up the experience of creating that draw package. We're going to dive into the data inbox and Copilot. We're then going to talk about the draw request tool itself. During this demo, we are going to create a draw request live on this call, so I'll show you just how quickly and easily that can be produced. We're then going to dive into what we call the funding portal, which is a pretty unique way of getting the draw request information, some valuable information from your vendors, your sources, how we're tracking against all those. All that and more is going to live in the funding portal. Finally, we're going to end with some questions and answers. If you have any questions, we're going to have a Q&A section where you can actually ask those questions. Let us know if you have any and all questions, and we'll hopefully be able to answer those at the end. So let's talk about what our key learning outcomes are, what we want to be able to walk away today from this call. Well, first things first, we want to have a clear understanding from the value perspective of the benefit of the Northspyre draw request tool. We also then want to dive deep and have an understanding of how the data inbox is allowing our customers to quickly edit and approve those invoices. We want to give you a full view of the invoices coming in and how it's affecting the budget of your project to avoid any expensive overruns or any budget constraints. You'll be able to tell right from the data inbox. We're then also going to show you how we're creating that world-class draw package with just the click of a button. In under 10 seconds, you're going to be walking away with a draw package that your lenders will absolutely love. And finally, how do we impress those lenders with additional tools like our funding portal, unique ways that we can get key information that they're going to care about? How do we get in front of them for that to be their source of truth with funding on this project? So a lot of great stuff that we're going to be talking about today. Let's first cover the benefits of the Northspyre draw package. First things first, what's one of the benefits? Well, we want to be able for our customers to generate that world-class draw package in a matter of seconds. Gone are the days where you're blocking out time on your calendar at the end of the month, finding all your invoices, making sure that the budget is reconciled, making sure that all that manual work that you're putting into creating those draws, that is no longer going to be the case. With the Northspyre, click of one button, you're going to have that draw request out the door over to your lenders. We're going to talk about how this is automated in the background, how all the invoices that are coming in are hitting the correct budget line, they're hitting the correct requisition period. We want to eliminate any of the manual work and the tedious work it takes to create those draw packages. And in the same vein, with manual work comes the possibility of human error. We want to be able to eliminate all that with the automation of the platform. And those are just some of the many benefits that you're going to see with the Northspyre draw package. Now, we're also going to go into a live demo of everything I'm talking about today. So not only are we going to understand kind of the how and the why we've created this, but you're going to be able to actually see just how easy all the different aspects of the technology, how they all work together, and ultimately how we're walking out with that draw package. It's going to start in our data inbox and Copilot. The data inbox is how we are eliminating that manual data entry. And in reality, it's empowering our teams to have a proactive, forward-looking decision-making process. We want to avoid any expensive budget or cost overruns, and that is what that tool aims to solve for. We're then going to create that world-class draw package. We're going to show you just how easy the system is automating all that information, so we're making sure your project stays funded and your team can focus that time and energy on other tasks, whether that's tasks within Northspyre, taking advantage of some of the power tools that they have at their disposal, or just taking a more strategic approach to the project in general, giving you a lot of time back and allowing you to reinvest that time into other aspects. We're then going to show off what I absolutely love, which is the funding portal. This is going to contain all that key information that your lenders care about. The draw request itself, any previous draw requests, any of the key vendors, the sources, and much more is all going to live on that one tool that you can easily share out to all your lenders, your JV partners, anyone who you want to. And finally, we're going to give you a little taste of our upcoming webinar on Friday, which is Report Builder and getting the most out of it. We're going to show you some little flexible options from the draw request perspective, because if your lenders are very particular on what is in that report, we want to be able to give you that flexibility. So we're going to be able to show that off as well. With that, I'm going to dive right in and we're going to do our live demo, and we're going to start in the data inbox. Now, if you're at home or if you're in the office and you want to follow along, highly encourage you to do so. I'll be kind of showing where I am, how I got there. And so on the other end, if you want to follow along, I highly encourage you to do so. Let's get started. So I am here in my project and I just logged in for the day. And so I am here on my project dashboard. If you ever looked here at the top, you have multiple tools here at your disposal. And the one we're going to first start on with is the data inbox. And the data inbox, as a reminder, is how it's really our answer for how we are eliminating the manual data entry of invoices, of contracts. It's your certificates of insurance, your lien waivers. Take a look at all these different aspects we have here within the data inbox. Today, we're going to be focusing really in this invoice section, but I just want to call out that it's not just for invoices. It's going to be for any contracts or change orders, your certificates of insurance, your lien waivers, and even your important documents, whether that's renderings of a project, whether that's site photos. Think of this as the way we're getting all that key project information into one place. No, gone are the days where you're searching for different documents in different places. Which document is the most up to date? Where's my invoice? I got to pick up the phone. That is no longer going to be the case. And the way we solve for that is here in the data inbox. So here are some invoices that I currently have in my system. And the way these got here was simply through an email address. One of the cool things when we create your project is we are giving you a specific email address for your vendors to send in those invoices to. If you're ever curious what that email address is, you can always head over to this gear icon where I can see the billing address, email, and this is the email address that I can share out with the vendors. I can share it out with members of my team. And all that really anyone needs to do is just send an email. Attach the PDF invoice. You can attach multiple PDFs in that same email. Makes it very easy to get all that information here in the system. Once it's in here, then what? How does this all work together? Let me click on an example and kind of show you exactly what is happening behind the scenes. So I'm going to look at this Alta survey here. And what this is giving me is a nice summary of who sent the invoice, what the subject line is, who the vendor is that just sent this in, and then more importantly, what the amount of money is for this invoice. All you need to do is click in. Now, a few things are going to happen in the background. The first thing you probably notice right in front of you is a copy of the invoice is going to be here front and center. So not only are you going to be able to see all the key information from that invoice pulled out automatically, we'll get to that here in just a second, but you're going to see an actual representation of what that invoice is. That's going to allow you to quickly see and confirm that this invoice is on the right project. It's on the right scope of work. It's the right vendor. All this information here comes from that email. And this was one of the attachments that was in there. What it's also doing is it's pulling out a lot of that key information. We're not just showing a PDF and then making you type in the information manually. We're extracting that from the PDF itself. They're a combination of artificial intelligence, machine learning. We're pulling out that information and putting it front and center here in your invoice details. Now, if you ever run into a situation where an email came in and the invoice was difficult to read, maybe it was from a photocopy or maybe it was something written down and the system just couldn't kind of figure out what information was there, it actually does get sent to our data validation team. So an actual team will look over the invoice and make sure all that information is correct. And so if Northspyre can't extract that information, not to worry, you're always going to have the data validation team backing you up. So let's go over really quick what was pulled out of that invoice. So I can see here in my invoice details, it's giving me a lot of that key information. What my invoice number is, what the amount was for that invoice, the date it came in, and who accepted this into the system, who was the one who emailed it into my data inbox. And what that's allowing us to do is not only see this information, a copy of that PDF, but it's also pulling out that information so I know which budget line this is going to be hitting. If I scroll down, I have my invoice components, and this is the information that at the end of the day is going to be hitting your budget within Northspyre. I can see in this case, I only have one component, so it's that right here in front of you, and it's going to show what budget line this is hitting. Your vendors, a lot of the times, are going to be tied to a specific budget line. So in this case, for my geo survey, I know this is hitting my geotechnical and design and engineering budget line. What that means is the next time I get an invoice from this vendor, it more than likely is going to hit this budget line as well. So that is already being done for you. Again, there's no manual work that's being done here. Pulling out the amount of money, again, showing you who the vendor is. And then it's also applying the requisition period. The requisition period is going to be incredibly important for when I create my draw request. I want to make sure I have all the invoices tied to the same requisition period. And what this is doing is by default, always going to the most up-to-date requisition period that was created. And so if the team is doing a monthly draw, which I'll say a majority of my teams do, you'll have the most recently created requisition period attached to that invoice. Finally, if there was a description that was added in, if there was an associated contract with this invoice, all that information is being pulled here front and center. So just to recap, all this information that came in, I did not have to manually do anything. All I had to do was instruct my vendors to email this invoice, and it came here. The system pulled out all of that work, and now I have this here front and center. So that is the data inbox in a nutshell. We really, at the end of the day, want to empower your teams to look forward into the decision-making process. We don't want you to just kind of go with your gut and try to think, do I have the budget for this invoice? If I accept it, is it going to put me over? This is going to be able to tell you right here, front and center, all that information. So now that we've covered how we get the invoice in, I, in the intro, talked about something called Copilot. And Copilot is so cool. So let me show you kind of what that is. And the best way I always like to describe Copilot is think of it as your own personal assistant within Northspyre. We want really the benefit of Northspyre. We want the team to be able to kind of understand the value within 10 minutes. And that's what Copilot is doing. It is calling out a lot of the key details that are going to call out. Is this going to put me over budget? Do I have enough funding from my sources that will get me in trouble with my lender? That kind of information. I want to show you really quick what that looks like in real time. So next to this overview, you have your Copilot analytics. And this is just calling out certain bits of information here. Nothing here at the end of the day is going to stop you from accepting this invoice here. It really just wants to act as a second set of eyes for the team. And so let's walk through kind of what is happening here. And so if I was to scroll down a little bit, I have my vendor impact. And this is really what is being called out here with this red number 1. This is saying that I have a total approved contract for this vendor for $4,250. I've already have an invoice in here for $2,450, which is already approved. But then I also have this invoice for $1,950. And if we do the math, which the system does for us, it's showing me that I'm currently over now by $150. I have a negative balance based on the original contract that I signed with this vendor. This is maybe an opportunity for me to call up the vendor. Maybe a change order has to come through that will have this total approved contract bumped up to the correct amount. And so really the purpose is we just want to call out the information to get you more information so you can be better informed before we actually accept this into the project. And if I scroll down, I have here stuff like my commitment impact, so I can see the contract for this component itself and what my balance remaining is. And then I also talked about the sources. Source tracking is something that is incredibly popular with my customers because it allows your lenders to see where the money is going and where it is going. And so if I see here in my source impact, I can see I have my LP equity as my source. My total source amount is $3.75 million. And I can see that I have $982,000 remaining in that source, and I'm pulling out $1,950, which is giving me this amount here. That is the total amount of funding in that source that I still have. And then I can also see my total percentage contributed to date. Again, Copilot wants to call out a lot of this information so you can make better informed decisions. As a reminder, this is not going to stop you from accepting an invoice or rejecting an invoice. It's just to call out, hey, there's a little bit of math here that maybe doesn't check out. Let's get this reconciled before this becomes an issue in the future. So that is how we are kind of in the very beginning getting invoices here into the system. Again, we want to avoid any manual data entry because at the end of the day, that's not the best use of your time. We want the system to do a lot of that heavy lifting. We want the project manager or really whoever else is in charge to be able to see exactly what the impact will be if I was to accept an invoice. And at the end of the day, if everything here looks good and I want to accept this into my project, all I need to do is click accept invoice. At that point, the backup documentation will be saved into the system, and this amount, $1,950, are going to be attributed to my specific geotech budget line. So that is the data inbox. Once again, the way I got here was from the very top under my data inbox. I just clicked my data inbox. That brought me to here. And that is the first way of, and really the easiest way of getting invoices into Northspyre. Now that we have invoices in, now that we know that they're coded correctly to the budget line, now that we know that they are set to the right requisition period, let's show off how we create that draw package. If I focus my attention here at the top, I'm in my data inbox, And a few options over to the left, I have my draw request tool. If I click into my draw request tool, this is going to give you a 30,000 foot view of all of the information that we've captured within Northspyre tied to a specific requisition period. And so if you notice here, I have this area at the top, and this is giving me the information that I care about when I'm making my decisions. If I want to see the amount total funded in this requisition period, I'm going to have that front and center. If I want to see where that bucket of money is going from, in this case, a hard cost perspective, I can see what that amount here is as well. If there are any change orders that came through this requisition period, that is being called out here as well. All this key information that you care about and that is important to your decision-making process is going to be here front and center. And if I scroll down, we're giving you areas for your vendors and that are being funded this round, any major commitments that were added, so any major base contracts or change orders that came through. And if there are any budget adjustments, we're capturing those here as well. You can always click into these buttons down here to view all of the invoices or all of the commitments or all of the budget transactions that took place in that requisition period. If you scroll up to the top, you're actually going to see this drop down here. And the drop down is going to show every requisition period that the team has created. And you can very quickly, very easily toggle between the different months. And I can see that the data here changes in real time. So I can have a historic look back on the amount that I requested from the lender and where that money went. I'll go back to my November draw. And the one thing I didn't show off here is if you scroll down, you're going to have the different budget categorizations that we've set up for you in Northspyre. You're going to have these top level categories here. In this case, I have my hard costs, my soft costs, my acquisition costs. And I can see in real time, if I want to look at my hard costs, for example, where the money was going, what my original budget was, the current amount that I'm asking for, with the subtotals at the bottom. Again, this is going to be based on the draw request, the requisition period that we have up here. So as I make those changes, once again, everything here changes in the background. Now, I talked about how easy it is to create the draw request. When you're ready to create that draw package, watch how easy this is. It wasn't hyperbole when I said it's going to take only the click of a button and we can do this under 10 seconds. Watch how easy this is. I'm going to click my export button right here in the middle. And it's going to ask me a few things. First, are we doing a PDF or are we doing an Excel? An Excel file is perfect if you want to have this as a backup within your team. If you want to run any additional formulas or anything like that, you have the ability to do so. But by default, the PDF is going to be the recommended option. This is, at the end of the day, what you're sending over to your lenders. You also have your layout, portrait or landscape mode. Portrait mode is going to look a lot more appetizing. This is going to be a little bit easier to read. Nothing's going to be, from a formatting perspective, anything constrained or anything like that. And then you have these advanced features. And if you want to include information on the date when this was reported, if the payment in your table of contents, if you want to include your retainage, or if there's a draw approval process that has to be done, you can actually include that as well. This is perfect if you have lenders who are very specific on what they want to see in their draw package. So you always have these options here. I always like including the date, and with the click of a button, you're going to click Generate PDF. In the background, this is going to take every invoice that we accepted into the project. It's going to take the backup documentation that was sent over from that PDF. It's going to take all the information that's tied to that requisition period, and it's going to throw it into a PDF document. It's going to collate all of those invoices that were sent over. It's going to pull all of that and put it into an easy to read and easy to view draw package. And it's going to be emailed to you. And the email is going to come from copilot@northspyre.com. Here is an example now. You can see on screen what that looks like. I'll click here to download. And let's take a look at what our draw package looks like that I created in 10 seconds. Let me make this here a little bit bigger. A lot of those key transactions that we talked about before and the value of having that front and center within the draw package, we're putting it here as well. So your lenders can easily see the vendors that were funded this round, all the major commitments that were added, all the budget adjustments, along with that information we chose on the advanced options, when this was printed, the name of the requisition period, and the project name. This is all going to be here front and center. None of this was created manually. Now, if you have ever been responsible for creating a draw request in the past, you know the pain of that. You have gone in and you have blocked time off your calendar. You've gone in and had to find and look for all those invoices and put them in the PDF editor. And then you've had to make sure that the budget has been reconciled. And that takes a good amount of time. And depending on the size of the team and how many projects you have, that could be someone's sole job within a company. With the Northspyre draw package, that is no longer the case. Everything that we showed off so far has been automated. I didn't do any manual entry. That was all done from the system automatically for me and my team. And I can also see that breakdown of the anticipated cost report that we talked about before. So you have that top level categories. So your hard costs, your acquisition costs, your soft costs. This is great for telling the whole story of the project because I can see in the original budget that we had originally set, if there were any budget changes that were made, there was any reallocations, that is all here for me and for my lenders, front and center. If I scroll down, you're going to see very specifically where the money is going and which budget line it is hitting. And so this is going to be the same requisition period for my November 23 draw. And the amount of money that I'm requesting this period, $383,000, this is going to show me where that money is going in this period. So I can see here that 10,000 of it went to my GMP line. And I can see here front and center the vendor that invoiced me for that period. I can see the invoice number, the date it came in, and the amount. The information that your lenders are going to care about, that they're going to scrutinize over no matter what, you have that here front and center. If I scroll down to your soft costs, same idea, but you'll see with your soft costs, you're probably going to have more than one vendor tied to that specific budget line. And so for my architect of record, I have here 4 different vendors, 4 different invoice numbers, and I even have my descriptions here as well. I will always encourage my customers to add in descriptions whenever they can, because this is a cloud-based service. And so members of the team, no matter where they are, they're all on the same page. Gone are the days where we're working out of multiple spreadsheets. I have a comment made on this spreadsheet, but it didn't make it to the next one when I made a copy of it. The power of descriptions is going to leave any of the guesswork, and it's going to take that away for both the team and the vendors. So I always like calling that out. At the end of the price breakdown, you're going to see all of those invoices collated on the end. And so all the backup documentation that the lender wants to verify is already going to be added for you. I didn't have to go find these in an email. I didn't have to pick up the phone and call someone on the team or one of my vendors to make sure I have an up-to-date copy of this. All the information that we showed off in the beginning that was pulled in from the data inbox shows up here front and center. And this, at the end of the day, is your draw package. Created with the click of a button, automatically collated and pulled together from Northspyre. All I had to do was generate the report from this tool right here. This is probably one of the favorite things I get to show off to my customers, whether it's someone new for the team, whether it's someone on the team who has been responsible for creating draw packages in the past, because you immediately see the light bulb go off and the weight taken off their shoulders of how much time we are saving them, how much time they can take away from those tedious admin tasks and put into other areas, whether that's taking advantage of some of the power tools we have here, whether that's taking advantage of some of the other tasks that they're probably responsible for on a day-to-day basis. This is going to save you and the team so much time. And it's probably one of my favorite reasons of why I like to get this in front of people, because you immediately see that light bulb go off and they can understand really the power of the technology, kind of what it can do for them. So that was how we created the draw request tool from here. Now I had also talked about something called the funding portal. The funding portal is something very cool, and I'm going to show you how you can create that and send that to your lenders, your JV partner, or really anyone who you want to give more information for on your project funding. So from this tool, I'm going to have my share button. And I can copy the draw package link if I wanted to send that link out to my lender or a client of mine, whoever. But I also have this funding portal, and I will generate a link from here as well. In this case, I've already done so, but take a look at where it brings me to now. This is my funding portal, and this is doing a lot of different things in the background, and I'm going to kind of walk through kind of what we're looking at here. If you'll notice in your Power Tools, we have multiple different tools that the team can take advantage of, whether that's sources overview, whether that's your cash flow projections. What the funding portal is doing is taking a lot of those tools and putting all that information in one place. And so not only can I see my project cash flow projections out for the rest of the project, but I can also see my actuals by requisition period. This is a dashboard that is giving your lenders, your JV partners, whoever, that 30,000-foot view on the project, on the funding of that project. Where are my dollars going? Where in my requisition period is the money going? This is pulling that out here front and center. And if you notice, when you hover your cursor, you can see here the amount that was spent in a requisition period and the requisition period number itself. And again, if I go over to my project cash flow, I can actually toggle these off as well. So if I want to see my actuals invoiced versus my actuals that I funded for via a draw request, I have that here front and center, but I also have your projections out for the rest of the project. If I come over here to the left, this is where my lenders, my JV partners can also pull reports on their end. If they want to see a copy of the disbursement summary, click a button. With the click of one button, it's actually going to open up into another tab here, and this is going to give you my disbursement listing for all the vendor payments and the amount that was funded in that requisition period. You also have the actual draw request itself. So if I wanted to pull a copy of this as well, open this up in another tab once it's been generated, and I always have a copy of this that someone can click with someone can easily click into and view. If I want to see my backup documentation, my table of contents, all that information lives here. When you want to send this out, when you want to share the funding portal with your lenders, you have this button down here, Share Funding Portal. And this is going to be where you can actually include and be specific on what you want to show. Maybe you don't want to show the project cash flow. Maybe you don't need to necessarily show any previous draw requests. You can be very specific on what you want to show, or in some cases what you don't want to show, before you generate the link. When you generate that link, here it is, you can then email that out to your lenders, and they will have this view where they're going to view all that key project information. Now, no worries, they're not going to be able to view anything with your budget. They're not going to view your anticipated cost report. They're not going to see any of that. The only screen and the only information they're going to see is what you've chosen, what you've personalized them for right here. So worry not, they're not going to see any of that key information. Your data inbox, they're not going to see any of that. Finally, from this tool, you have your previous periods as well. So if I wanted to pull my previous draw requests, whether I want to make sure I have them on file, maybe I have a lender who wanted to see a few draw requests back, they can scroll down all the way from the beginning where I can see all my all previous cost draw package, my equity paid invoices, all that information is going to be here front and center. And just as a reminder, the way I got here was from the draw request tool itself. It was under the share option where I'm able to kind of quickly find that funding portal link. You also will have a link there under your Power Tools, your funding portal. And that's going to be in addition to your cash flow and the sources overview that lives in that tool as well. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to your RETC. They'll be able to set time with you and kind of dive into the power of those tools as well. Last thing we want to cover today is a little bit of a preview of the Report Builder tool. This is a tool that we are going to be chatting about on Friday during our next webinar. And what I want to show is some additional ways you can have more flexibility on the report that you want to generate to your lenders. And so if you head up to your Power Tools, you're going to see Report Builder. And Report Builder is so cool. You'll learn more about this on Friday. But what this allows you to do is have a little bit more flexibility on the reporting that you need and want to get out to your lending partner, your JV partner, whoever. And if you scroll down here, you'll notice that I have multiple options for the draw request. And if I click into just the standard one, the draw request tool, I have the ability to do a lot of what I did before from my first example of generating this. I can still go in, choose my requisition period. If I wanted to, just include the entire draw report like I did before, but you also have this customized draw reports. And this is going to be perfect for any lender who's very particular on what they want to see in that draw package. This is going to give you full flexibility into generating this report into the way your lenders prefer. And so not only can I choose to include the table of contents and include my documents and anything that's potentially pending for my data inbox, but I can also choose to hide specific columns. And so if I didn't want to show off, for example, retainage held or retainage released, anything like that, I can make sure I have the option checked on or off within this tool. This is, again, going to give you more flexibility compared to that first version. This is perfect in the situation where your lenders are very particular with what they're looking for. You also have this general information. So if I still wanted to include the printed date, if I maybe wanted to include a cover page with my team logo, if I wanted to include any of that information as well, you have the ability to do so. One of the benefits of the Report Builder tool is it allows you to save and combine different aspects of reporting into one report. So in this case, I have draw request, but if I maybe wanted to include that disbursement list that I showed off before, I just need to, again, choose the requisition period, click save. And it's going to bring all those in one report that I can then get out to my lenders. The benefit of that as well is you can save these as templates. If I can save the template, I can name this draw request. And I can always, at the end of the month, when I'm ready to generate this report again, I will have this here saved as a template. Now, I'm here in April, right? So when I created this report potentially months ago, I saved it to that requisition period. If you ever see these three dots, you can always update to the latest requisition period as well. That's going to automatically pull all those PDFs, pull all those budget allocations, whatever happened in that specific requisition period, I can quickly update to the latest one, so I'm not doing all that work manually again. You're going to learn the power of that and so much more on Friday as we dive deeper into getting more out of Report Builder. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the live demo of how we created that world-class draw package. And let's just recap kind of what we did and how we got there. We first started in the data inbox. We got all the invoices sent in. No manual work, no manual entry was done. All I had to do was look at the copy of the PDF, make sure that it's hitting the right budget line, make sure it's hitting the right requisition period, and I accept that into my project. We also then took advantage of Copilot analytics. So we saw a second set of eyes over my shoulder, making sure that I'm not going over budget, making sure that I have enough money in the source that I'm pulling in for that period. That and so much more is done from the Copilot section. We then went in and created that draw package. In the click of a button, I went to my draw package tool. I was able to see all the invoices from that requisition period. I could see kind of where it was funded on my project, which budget lines it was hitting, and where that amount of money was going. I was then able to share that information and so much more via the funding portal. I got that link out to my lenders, my JV partners, and everyone was on the same page. And then finally, we gave you a little bit of a bonus showing the flexibility that Report Builder can give you, in this case, for your draw package. So that was your draw package in a nutshell. And when we talk about next steps, if you have any questions, I want you to do a few things. First things first, reach out to your local RETC if you want to schedule a meeting to learn more about any of the tools we talked about today. And don't forget to take advantage of the knowledge base. Knowledge.northspyre.com is available 24/7 to our customers, where you can see all of our support articles on anything within Northspyre. Finally, if you have any questions, if you want to email concierge@northspyre.com, this is where you can get a very quick answer. If something's not working correctly, if you have any additional questions, you have that tool available at your fingertips. Now, we have a few minutes left here, and so I want to jump into some of the Q&A that we have here. And we have the first one here from Victoria, which I will answer here. The question was, can we set up and use a future requisition period? So if we receive an invoice in January, but we know the work isn't going to be done until April, for example, can we do that? And Victoria, the answer is yes. From your Northspyre Power Tool section, there's an area here for requisition periods. And this is where you can actually go in and create your own requisition period. And so if I know that I'm going month by month, I have here my different months, what my start date is, what my end date is. If I wanted to have one in the future for April, I absolutely can do that. I just title the draw request name itself on the requisition period name itself, and I'll choose my start and end date. That's all I need to do. Once I'm in, for example, the data inbox and I'm looking at an invoice, if I know that this isn't going to get sent until April, I can actually, from the edit screen, show you live here, choose my requisition period itself. So if I'm looking at my invoice, you're going to see these 3 dots next to this information here. If you click the 3 dots and click edit, this is where you can go. This is loading here on this demo project, but this would say requisition period, and I can then toggle to that April date or whatever date in the future you want to. So Victoria, great question. Next question we have here is, how do you suppress zeros in the draw request if I have more cost lines but I'm not using them at all? That is a great question. From within Report Builder, we actually have the ability to not show any numbers that have zeros in the budget line. And so if there is areas that haven't been funded yet, you can actually go in and be very specific on which lines you want to show here as well. Again, if you have any question on that, reach out to your RETC. They can show you exactly where that lives and how that works, but you do have the ability to do so. And then last question here, how on the source impact section, I have multiple sources. Can I assign a source to be used for each invoice? Marie, yes. Not only can you assign a source to a specific invoice, but you can also assign a source to a specific budget line. The way you would do that is under Power Tools and under Budget Categorizations. You'd find the specific budget line itself. You hit the pencil icon. And then under Advanced, you can actually choose your funding source for that specific budget line. And in your data inbox, I don't have the time to show you now, reach out to your RETC, but you can also go in and assign an invoice to that specific source as well. So great question from both Zoran and Marie. Great stuff as always. And folks, that is really all we have time for today. We've gone 45 minutes in. A ton of great information was shared today. And so if you have any questions, any follow-up questions, once again, reach out to your local RETC. They'll be more than happy to set time up with you, understand any questions you have. And if you want to have a training session going over this, I would highly encourage you to do so. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us today on this Wednesday afternoon of our Northspyre webinar series. Today, we talked about producing a world-class draw package. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, once again, reach out to your local RETC, and we'll see you on Friday for the Getting Most Out of Report Builder. Have a great day, everyone.